Welcome back to the Ware's World podcast. In this episode, I have somebody dear to my heart. He is none other than my brother. Well, he's my half-brother. And my half-brother is Kaz. I just call him my actual brother because that's really what we've known each other since the beginning. And he's got some crazy opinions about communism. I might not agree with them. You might not agree with them. But they are important to listen to. Keep listening till the end if you want to hear some of those. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Well, who are you?
I am your brother. What? Like, why are you even asking?
I have to ask these questions. That's how I started out.
Yeah. No, I'm Costa. I'm this guy's brother by 14 whole years. I held him when he was just this little bitty side.
I was about as big as, like, the palm of somebody's hand, right?
Yeah, you were pretty small.
How big were you compared, like, were you as big as you are now?
No, I was actually a very skinny 14-year-old, so...
Skinny 14-year-old. So, let's take it all the way from the beginning. How did you get from Arizona, because you started in Arizona, right?
I was born
to Utah to here, where you're at now?
Great question. So, I was, of course, born here in Arizona. I stayed here until I was about 6. My parents got divorced. I went with my mom up to Utah. Our father stayed here in Arizona. Kind of came back and forth and visited. There was a time in high school where I came here and lived with Dad. And Dad didn't
You don't really want to stick around, and I know you don't. You're not really too fond, but like, what does that feel like? Like to go through a divorce with two parents, because a lot of people go through that where they're like going through these divorces, and they're the kids, and they're either depressed or like. How did you feel at that young age?
Well, that's a good question, man. I never even really like thought about that. I don't even know if I could remember those feelings because I was so young. I was only 6. I do remember some pretty intense fighting between my mom and our dad, and some violence that like occurred during that whole time. Like I remember I don't know how deep we can get on these podcasts.
Let's get deep.
No, I remember our dad was going pretty crazy one time, and my mom and I locked ourselves in the closet because he was
just getting crazy. Yeah, and I mean, he's been that for me as well. I remember coming home one time. I mean, I love you, Dad, but I remember coming home one time. Is that still going? We still good there?
I hope so. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Cool.
I remember coming home one time and like he was just screaming at us, and I had to kind of get in the middle between my mom and Dad, and that was like. It's kind of like you have to grow up fast in those households, I think is what it is. Especially when back in Buckeye, when they lived out in Buckeye, and I remember Dad coming out, and he was like crying. This was like my unveiling moment of like where I guess I started my thoughts, because I can't really remember too much before this. And he was crying, and I was just like, well, if this guy's crying, who's gonna protect who am I gonna learn from? So I had to figure it out on my own. Yeah. What was that aha moment for you?
I mean, it's unfortunate, man, that both of us had to kind of experience this. I think maybe we both experienced it in a little bit of a different way because, your parents are still together, whereas mine separated, and I had to kind of like figure it out on my own. Much as I love my mom, sometimes she has her own set of issues, and then kind of went out to party and do her own thing, and then, I don't think Dad gave much of a shit to call me or talk with me about these kinds of things, so, like, I don't know, I think it's unfortunate. I think it's very formative for me, as a man, because you don't have, being raised just by a woman, you don't have much of, like, a solid male role model, and so you kind of have to, like, develop your idea of what a man is on your own.
So did you find any of those role models? Like I know people find those online or within sports players. Were you able to find a role model off anybody?
No, I just think I kind of started developing, these things just through, societal pressure around me, right? I remember being young and living with my mom, and, she would get a new piece of furniture and, I would put it together, right?
Figure it out.
Yeah, they just figure it out. Like, I actually enjoy putting together furniture because it's one of those things that makes me feel like, something that I can do. I can do that really well. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always really good at reading the instructions and putting the thing together, and it comes out like it's supposed to every time. So,
it doesn't fall apart.
It doesn't look all fucked up. Like, corners aren't showing, like, with no paint and stuff. No, I feel like I can do that, and it's something I'm good at, right? It's kind of like one of the very few things that I found that I'm actually good at, like DJing. Yeah, like talking to people. I think I'm also pretty good at too.
Following directions.
Yeah, following.
Somewhat.
Not following directions from, someone saying, Costa, you need to do this. It's more of like following instructions, right? Like, I'm able to look at a piece of paper to accomplish a goal rather than, a boss. Because I hate having a boss. I can't do that.
Why?
I don't know, I think I have like a little bit of an authority problem.
Let's go through some of these shitty bosses, because you probably... How many jobs would you say you've went through, and what... You've definitely had some shitty bosses, right? Okay.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah,
I think most bosses are shitty. I think I've had like one or two notable good bosses. But yeah, I mean, the majority of them, you know what I mean? Like, I think that we live in a dog-eat-dog world, right? Where it's like, everyone's kind of out for themselves, and that includes the, middle management class, which is the people that you and I, as, workers interact with, right? It's just the middle managers. You don't talk to upper management. And how often do you talk to CEO of, your big, multinational corporation? It just doesn't happen.
Usually it doesn't happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think these middle managers are in the same, class as us, as far as like, going to work every day and struggling to survive. And it forces them to kind of be, in that mindset of, I better make sure that this fucker over here doesn't ruin my day and make it so that I get a demotion and my team doesn't do as well, type of deal,
Well, I guess what I'm looking for is like, you worked at JoJo's, right?
Okay, yeah, that was my first word bad. No, actually, my first bad boss was at Jack in the Box. This is actually the one time I can give Dad credit, because this guy, he kind of set the example. Like, if you're the middle manager, you're the boss of the place, like, you set the example, right? I'm like, he kind of, went through, I don't know, the place and did his own thing. He would come up to the fryer and just eat curly fries, like, as they would come off fresh, and he would dump them, and then he would just eat curly fries. So.
Was he a big guy?
He always was a big guy.
Oh.
Yeah, bigger than me today. So here's me, a little 16-year-old kid, working at my second job ever. I thought it was okay to eat the curly fries off of there, so I would eat the curly fries off as soon as they came off, And, yeah, one time, he, made sure that I heard about it, and he actually fired me. And Dad actually brought me back up to the place afterwards and, like, gave him a piece of his mind, basically, and was like, no, you're gonna keep my son hired here because this is bullshit. Like, Dad had seen him eating curly fries off the thing. He's like, we all know you do it, guy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why are you gonna fire my son over this? So,
and did he rehire you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually got to keep my job. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then you moved to JoJo's.
No. Actually, I moved to Walgreens after
Walgreens.
that. Yeah. This is before I moved back to Utah. But yeah, we were living in Buckeye at the time, and Walgreens was just opening up. And actually, a couple of weeks after this whole firing because of the curly fries incident, the general manager of Walgreens came in, and I gave her exceptional service, not realizing, she was a general manager of Walgreens, and she said, hey, I'm opening up that Walgreens across the street. will you come and interview? Like, you're doing a really good job here, and I need people like that at Walgreens. And so she hired me at Walgreens, and that was my third job. I actually enjoyed working at Walgreens. It was kind of fun, you know.
Were you like up front, or were
Yeah.
you in the back stocking?
Yeah, I was a cash register.
Cash register.
Yeah. I mean, I worked there for a couple of months, and then I don't know if you've ever heard the infamous story of me flipping off the bus driver and lighting a cigarette up on the bus.
No.
Off the bus. Yeah, junior year was rough. The kids would make fun of me quite a bit on my bus. In fact, one of them poured some sort of acid solution on my shirt.
What?
At one point. Yeah.
They just brought acid to school.
I don't know what the fuck it was, but he put something on my shirt and it burnt a hole through my brand new shirt that I had, and burnt my skin. And no one at the school did anything about this guy. You know, he's a fucking football player, of course, and it was just typical, this guy's not getting in trouble. We're
So
gonna
how
make
did you
sure
stand up to him?
Oh, I finally on the last day of school, last day of junior high, or not junior high, of junior year is what I
Junior
needed
year.
to say. Basically, I lit up a cigarette as I was walking off the bus, and I flipped the bus driver off because I was like, you never did shit about any of these fuckers, making fun of me. One time they threw my hat out the window. These guys were just fuckers to me, and I always reported it to the bus driver, and I'd always reported to the principal, and they never did shit to me. But as soon as I light up a cigarette and flip off the bus driver, they reported me and expelled me.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's when I went back to my mom's.
In Utah.
Yeah.
So in Utah, you're there, and what's one thing of wisdom that your mom that sticks with you from your mom?
Next question.
Next question.
I don't know. I don't know.
She didn't have anything, nothing to pops into your head.
Yeah, there's not any particular sayings that I can think of, but I mean, I'm sure my mom imparted a great deal of wisdom on me in one way or another.
Mm.
Yeah.
You learned
I feel
by
like this is
seeing
becoming a trauma dumping session, right?
trauma dumping session.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it doesn't come off that way. I'm just asking questions because I like to dive deep.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
Okay, so you said she was in the party scene. How do you think that impacted you getting into DJing?
Oh, it definitely did, because she had DJ friends, you know what I mean? And I think for my 16th birthday, or it was Christmas that year or whatever, she was like, hey, I got this buddy who's selling some turntables. Would that be something you're interested in? And I was like,
How much?
yeah. Oh, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
It was probably $200 at the time, which was
Inflation's a bitch, right?
$200 is a lot of money, you know what I mean? But yeah, yeah, she bought those, and I remember my first two records were Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys.
Intergalactic.
Yep, and it was the 2001 Dr. Dre, side A, side B. You had the whole album on one piece of wax. And I remember trying my hardest to make mixes between just Intergalactic and any of the songs on Dr. Dre's 2001 sound good, right? Yeah. I really had no idea what I was doing.
So you were it was thrown in front of you and you just figured it out. That was another one of those scenarios.
We didn't have YouTube when I was 16, that wasn't a thing. Right?
Did you go and involve yourself in any of these DJ groups at high schools or anything like that?
No.
Nothing.
No, mainly what it was for me is I would go to the raves, and I would go right up to the front, and I would just watch
just see what he's doing.
the DJ and tune in and try and listen. Okay, what are they doing? You know what I mean? And I just kind of gradually figured it out. I remember my first mix, I had everything beat matched, and I was able to beat match pretty well. But my timing, the timing of when you mix the songs,
Was off.
was terrible. Sounded like shit. But I didn't know that, until someone pointed it out to me. Hey, you need to work on your timing. Well, I'm like, what's timing? What are you gonna do? I think I Googled it.
What's timing?
DJing, Google, or DJing, timing, whatever, you know what I mean? So, yeah. It's just something I figured out on my own.
You just figured it out on your own, and now where you're at, like, compare yourself from when you were doing raves to where you're at now. Like, how has your skill improved? What have you learned? What are some of the stories you can share with us?
Bro, I think I'm a significantly better DJ just within the last year than I've ever been. Like, there's been this new feature released for DJs called stems, right? And it lets you separate, like, the instruments and the vocals and the bass line and the melody and, like, all of that stuff. You can separate it, you know, one by one. And it's added this whole new, like, layer of DJing for me.
Right.
Like, I felt like I kind of hit a plateau of, like, you know, I know kind of everything there is to know. Like, I can scratch pretty good, you know what I mean? Like, I can mix pretty much any music. I can work my way around a gig, you know, no matter what kind of gig it is, right? I was kind of getting bored with it a little bit.
Yeah, especially with what I mean. I've seen you at weddings. We work together, but
Yeah.
like, at weddings, I was scared shitless. Like the people were coming out, and you'd be like, "Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Make sure you just do this." I'm like, I don't fucking know how to do this shit.
Bro, yeah, my first couple of weddings, I was so nervous. But, yeah, I mean, honestly, just, you know, after doing hundreds and hundreds of events at this point, it's like, you know, it's like, that kind of goes away. And you know what's crazy is, like, I felt, and still from time to time, feel more nervous in front of, you know, 100 people or less than I did when I was DJing shows with, like, 5,000 people at it. You know what I mean? Like, I remember one time I walked up on stage at the Great Saltaire in Salt Lake, and I tripped and went right on my fucking face, and it was a laughing matter. I got up and was like, "This is hilarious. Everyone will know me as the DJ that tripped. That's fucking funny." You know what I mean? Now, if I were to go out there and like trip in front of 100 people, I'd be like, "Oof,
This isn't professional.
all these fucking guys are gonna remember me." You know what I mean?
There's your Google review going down.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, I mean, just recently with the advent of, you know, stem separation, I mean, I feel like it's, like, leveled up my DJing and my skill level. And, yeah, it's crazy.
For a while, you were scared of, like, the laptop DJs, I guess is what you'd call them. You were like, I don't want to be a laptop DJ. What kind of broke through?
Oh, man, yeah. It used to be that we would carry around big boxes of records, you know what I mean? You know, imagine carrying a box of record that weighs 50 pounds, you know what I mean, to every gig. And, you know, if we're going to do a wedding, right, where people are going to request every song in the book, right, you know, imagine how many records you have to carry. And then, you know, we moved to CDs, and that was easier, but you're still carrying around a CD case that's like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, just the ability to have it all on my iPad now, and like have thousands and thousands, like a million songs on my iPad. And then on top of that, now you have streaming, right, where you can stream music to DJ. You know, that, you know, just unlocks, you know, an infinite amount of possibilities for you at a gig. You know what I mean? You can never have the same gig over again.
Definitely. So you're a raving. Give us some crazy rave stories. I know you got them. You've told me some of them. Skrillex. We'll start with Skrillex. How'd you meet Skrillex? How'd you get into that space of touring with him?
Yeah, so just knowing the right people. You know, we knew some people who been through some shows in Detroit, and those people kind of like hooked us up with other people. And
You guys want to get in contact with me? Perfect. Join the Discord. It's right below. We're always in there. And then also follow me on all the social media platforms. I'm most active on X, though, causing so much trouble. Thanks.
I mainly went with my buddy Josh. His name is DJ Quack Quack. He teach me. Yeah, I did some battle sets with him out of state a couple.
Wait, what's
of
a
times.
battle set?
Oh, it's that, you know, where two DJs go song for song, right? Like I play a song, he plays a song. I play a song, I do some scratching, he does some scratching. We mixed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we just kind of go back and forth and vibe off of each other what we're doing and try and see if we can come up with a good set that way. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, a matter of who you know rather than what you know what I mean? Like you can be a pretty basic ass DJ, but if you know the right people, yeah.
Well, how do you know the right people? Were you going out to certain parties? Like,
yeah. I was, when I went back to Utah, I came back here, kind of bounced back and forth, right? But I was here, and I didn't really do too much here in Arizona. Like, I went to this one, like, open decks thing here in Arizona where they had, like, this, you know, the first 2 hours of the rave, we're going to let, like, newbie DJs come and mix, and you get, like, 30 minutes to lay it down or whatever. And I actually did a 30-minute set, you know, here, and, you know, I had approached some of the guys, and they talked about maybe getting me on, you know, a couple other gigs. I think we did a desert party or two before I left. But it didn't really, like, take off for me until I got to Utah. I went to Utah, you know, I made a couple of mixes, and I would burn them onto, you know, stacks and stacks and stacks of CDs. Like, I would buy from Walmart, they used to have, like, this stack of 100 CDs, blank CDs, and I would just sit there with my laptop, and I would burn them one by one by one by one by one, just
over and over again.
Oh my god, hours and hours and hours. And then when they were done burning, I'd write my name on it, my number on it, right?
And then hand them out?
And I'd put them in sleeves, and then we'd go to the rave, and I'd go to the rave with my little backpack just full of CDs. I'd slang those motherfuckers, just, boom, hey, you get a CD, you get a CD, you get a CD, you know? And eventually, you know, someone called me and was like, hey, dude, I'm throwing a party tonight. Like, can you come and DJ? So, yeah, I went to his party and DJed, and it ended up being this guy named Redneck.
Redneck?
Yeah, everyone in the raves has, like, a rave name, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, your name would be, like, Pussy Pants or some shit.
Pussy
Yeah,
Pants?
I don't know.
Yours is fat ass now.
Yeah. No, mine was Cause. Just always Cause. Yeah,
It was Cause.
I wouldn't let people assign me, like, you know what I mean? Any kind of name. You know, there's Butterfly and Sprinkle and fucking Starburst and shit. You know what I mean?
It's like stripper names.
Yeah, exactly. Except it's your rave name. Yeah, but Redneck happened to be this guy's name, and it fit the bill. You know, his place was pretty trashy and gross, but man, did he have some fucking ragers at his house.
And was this your first party that you did?
No, because like I said, I DJ'd a 1 or 2 desert raves here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like small, like, you know, not huge, 50, 100 people showed up to them or whatever, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, when we get to Utah, you know, I DJ'd at Bonehead's house, or not Bonehead's, Redneck's house. And then from there, like, Redneck had all of these other friends that were in it, you know what I mean? And just
like a pyramid almost.
Yep. And then, like, people would come up to me and be like, dude, you're so sick. Like, thanks. Like, this is great. Like, thanks for DJing here. Can I get your number?
And you'd be like, wearing the candy.
Oh, all the candy. I'd give my number. I'd give even more CDs out while I was there, right? And it ended up being like a every weekend type of thing. Like, Redneck would have me back. And you'd have hundreds of people rotate throughout his house through the night. You know what I mean? And he'd be like the like designated after party spot for ravers. So, like, if you went to a rave that night, you were pretty likely to wind up at Redneck's house, right? So that ended up turning into this one guy. I think he's kind of autistic. He was a really nice kid, but, you know, he wasn't all there. You know, just, he wanted to, he like kind of latched on to me, kind of like adopted me. And he was like, you're going to be my friend now. And we'd go, like, just hang out all over the fucking place.
And what was his name?
Fuck, I don't remember.
Day.
I don't remember this guy, because I only hung out with him for, like, a couple of months. But he introduced me to Josh, Quack Quack. And Josh took me under his wing. And Josh introduced me to plethora of other people that introduced me to a plethora of other people, and it worked its way up to a place where, you know,
now you're working with Skrillex. And so
I wouldn't necessarily say I was working with Skrillex. I don't think the guy knew my fucking name, to tell you the truth. I just happened to be at the shows. You know
I got you.
Like, I happened to be, like, booked through the guy to or booked through, you know, fucking whatever production company it was to, you know, say, hey, go here and DJ, right? You're opening for Skrillex tonight. You know what I mean?
And what was that like, opening for Skrillex?
cool. Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Is Skrillex what everybody thinks he is, like the whole spraz, or he's not really like how he is online?
Well, I don't want to malign the guy publicly, but yeah, I mean, he's kind of a dweeb.
Kind of a dream.
Yeah.
He's calling you out.
At least back in the day, I mean, it's been fucking like, what, 13 years, 14 years since, you know, this all happened.
And where in there did you meet, like, Steven?
Oh, Steven, wow. Yeah, so Steven was friends with Jamal. They went to Job Corps together. And, I don't know, I had a residency every Friday night at this club called Area 51 back in Salt Lake. So, like, I would go and DJ just every Friday night, right? And that was my spot, right? People knew you could go to Area 51 on Fridays and see Kaz.
Yeah.
And I met my buddy Joey. And Joey and I became really good friends. And I actually ended up moving in with Joey at one point. Dude, I stayed in his, he had this apartment. The fucking guy had a 2-bedroom apartment, right? But one of the bedrooms that he had was just full of, like, junk and bullshit. And so I couldn't stay in that room.
Yeah.
What we did is we put up, like, sheets in the living room that I stapled to the roof and made my own room in the living room. Like, and so...
Ghetto-fied.
Oh, bro, it was so ghetto.
But hey, it brought you the privacy so you can bring some chicks back, right? Or dudes, in your case.
Yeah, sure. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want my wife to be listening to this and hear me talk about, you know, stories with chicks.
Sure.
Yeah. Cut that.
Cut that. Yeah. So you meet, or you're living with Joey.
Oh, yeah, and to Steven, to that point. Yes, Steven and Jamal lived in the apartment, like, just diagonal to us. Like, it was up one story and just right there. And, like, we had, like, an open door policy. Like, Jamal and Steven could come into our apartment at any time, and we could go into their apartment at any time. Just kind of like, you know, we were all buddies, and eventually we all got a house together. Me, Jamal, Steven, Joey, Davo. We all had a house together, and, yeah.
Did you just afford that house by DJing?
Bro, I don't even know, man. Like, I think I was, like, supposed to pay, like, what, $250, $260 a month at that place, and I don't even know if I ever paid it. You know what I mean? I don't remember, but, probably DJing, you know, doing odd jobs here and there, you know, that type of stuff. Yeah.
Makes sense.
I didn't make a whole lot of money DJing back in the day. I make a lot of money DJing now, but when I was doing the rave thing, like, you know, you'd get the occasional $100 for showing up, you know, and that's about it.
What do you think newbies need to work on if they're just starting to DJ? What's like 2 or 3 things that they need to work on?
The first thing that all DJs should know how to do is beat match. So I'm teaching a guy right now, Roberto. He just started DJing. He knows nothing about it. He's like, hey, I want to do this. Teach me what I need to know. I'm like, dude, you got to know how to beat match. That's the first thing every DJ should learn. You know, it's like the difference between driving a stick shift car and driving an automatic car. There you go. And action.
Like action. So, first time I've ever driven a stick shift car was Seth 80. He got a brand new car like right down the street from me, and he was like, "I'm gonna take you around the block and I'm gonna show you how to do it." I go around the block, and like, I'm in the car for maybe 2 minutes, and he's like, "All right, shift now. Stall it." And he's like, "It's all right. Turn it back on." I stall it again. 2 more times it happens. He's like, "All right, get out."
Yeah.
Go, and
You
drives
got
back.
burn up his clutch.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what my point is that, like, you know, you couldn't jump into a manual car and just drive right now.
Right.
You wouldn't know how. You'd be like, no, I can only drive a manual, or I can only drive an automatic. It's the same thing with DJs. Like nowadays, you know, there's a sync button, right? You could just press sync and the beats are matched. So problem with that is that the software isn't always, you know, exact at matching beats. And so if you rely on that, you're going to stumble across songs that you will not be able to beat match, because when you press sync, it's not going to actually sync beats, you know? So if you don't know how to beat match, you're going to have to look at the person who made that request and say, sorry, I can't play this song.
And that's unprofessional.
And it's unprofessional. So I think every DJ worth their salt needs to know how to match a beat. Number two, you need to figure out timing. Timing is a little subjective. It's like a little opinionated, right? But yeah, I mean, the idea is that like every song has an intro and every song has a body and then every song has an outro, right? You know, how do you layer the outro of one song over the intro of another to make it a smooth transition? And yeah, again, of course, that's subjective. Some people do short mixes and that kind of stuff, but yeah, I mean, you got to learn at least the basic timing, right? And then, yeah.
And then number three
is how to make women dance.
How to make women dance. So you need to have the girls dancing to get the guys dancing.
You've been to a couple of DJ gigs with me, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I will stand by that. I think that if you can get ladies dancing, right? If you're at a wedding, you make the bride dance, right? If you can make the bride dance, well, then the bridesmaids are probably going to dance with her. If the bridesmaids are dancing, well, then the groomsmen are probably dancing. And if the groomsmen are dancing, everyone else is dancing. You know what I mean? So you always want to try and aim for the bride at a wedding.
What's your go-to song?
24 karat magic in the air. No, I don't know. Fucking, yeah, it depends on the crowd, you know?
You don't have like a most common, like, is it 24?
Yeah, I mean, probably. Better Bruno Mars. Fucking Bruno. White people love Bruno Mars. I don't know what
it's something about it. You walk into like the gym and it's playing.
Yeah, I don't know. They love Bruno Mars. Sabrina Carpenter is really popular. I like playing her shit. I don't know. I don't have a go-to song. Depends on the people. If I'm playing to a room full of white people, you know, obviously, like, yeah, we're doing Bruno Mars and Sabrina Carpenter.
Right.
When I go to the quinceañeras, though, something like that, maybe some Grupo Firme.
I have no clue who that is.
Some of that person. Or what's the other one that they all? Peso Pluma. They all like that.
Peso Pluma.
Yeah, they all like that. Oh, and Bad Bunny, of course. Bad
Bunny.
Bad Bunny is that's actually the one where it transitions between, you know, all of them. You could play Bad Bunny in any of the parties, and everyone loves Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
So, is there anything, any other stories that you want to talk about related to DJing? Anything?
Not on a public platform.
You have to pay. Subscribe to the Patreon. No.
Yeah, subscribe to my Patreon.
His OnlyFans.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually a good idea. Stories by cause. OnlyFans, yeah.
Here's the video to show proof.
I'll give you the fucking pornographic details of every experience I've
Well,
ever
I'm
had.
not saying in that sense, but like, you know, when people either for beginners or people want to reach out to you, like,
Yeah.
where do you see yourself as a DJ in 5 years from now?
I mean, honestly, like, I think I'm a little bit past my prime time DJ years, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's something
He's
where,
36
like,
now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be so, like, utterly fucking for real right now. Like, you as a DJ have to be, you know, hip a little bit, right? You have to kind of have your finger on the pulse of what's going on. And, you know, some people can, you know, do that and go to graduation parties as a 50 or 60-year-old. I feel like I don't necessarily want to do graduation parties into my 50s and 60s. You know what I mean?
Well, where would you like to be in 5 years from now? If you're not, would you like to be managing other DJs or?
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I think it'd be cool to like have a, have this company where it, like, kind of runs itself, you know what I mean? And I can say, like, hey, you know, I've got a gig on Friday or Saturday, you know, which one of you is available and wants to take it? It pays X amount of dollars, right? You know, that would be...
That's why we're starting an online course.
I'm kidding, y'all. Okay, Andrew Tate over here. I'm not doing all that.
Hey,
We're not doing it. We're not doing it. I'm not doing the...
He's not creating a DJ course online?
No, that seems like such a scam. You can hire me. I'll come and teach you how to DJ for $100 an hour.
All right.
Yeah.
$100 an hour. Where can they find you in regards to DJ stuff?
You can find me at my telephone number, 801-833-7287.
So now to transition out of that, let's go into insurance. Insurance field.
Yay.
Yes.
Yeah. COVID ruined your hopes and dreams of being a professional DJ for the rest of your life and making all kinds of money from that. Become an insurance agent.
That's what got you into it?
Yeah, I mean, more or less. I mean, shit, dude, 2019 was a really good year for DJing. Like, I popped off, you know what I mean? I made quite a bit of money. And then 2020, I was set up to make even more money. Like, it was crazy. I quit my job at, you know, the packaging place that I was working for, doing accounts receivable. I quit my job because DJing was going so well, you know? I had so many gigs lined up, I could have survived off of just DJing. And then, you know, Renly came. A week later, the entire fucking world shut down, man. Yeah.
So that's how it impacted you.
Yeah. Then, you know, people started calling me and saying, like, hey, sorry, our venue canceled. We're not going to be able to have the, you know, the wedding or the party or whatever. Or we're doing social distancing, so we don't want to do it, you know? And it's just like all my events got canceled.
So COVID impacted you in the sense of canceling your DJ gigs. How do you think our government handled it?
I don't know. Shittily. Bad. I don't think there's a good example of how governments handled it across the world. I think they all kind of handled it pretty piss poor. You know what I mean? But yeah, to get back to insurance rather than political topics, definitely.
I can't throw those in there.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to start talking about communism, you know I will.
All right, we'll get there. I'm edging a little bit.
Oh, you're edging. You're edging. No, that's socialist. Oh, that Marxism, baby. Oh, if we just did that, we'd be fine. No, yeah, basically, you know, I went to work for, you know, my mom and Chuck's business, doing the, you know, the fireplace thing for a while there while we were building the bus. And then they kind of decided that they wanted to move to Mexico. And they were going to, like, not do their business anymore. So I was kind of like, oh, fuck, I need to just kind of, like, make my own way in the world. That's kind of my lesson for the last, you know, 5 or 6 years of my life has just been, like, you really got to make your own way in the world. You can't really, like, rely on other people. Even, you know, people you think you can trust and rely on, you just absolutely can't. And so you need to have your own plan. You need to do your own thing and know how you're going to survive short of anyone and everyone, right? And unfortunately, that's a lesson we have to learn under capitalism. But, yeah, man, I mean, basically, I was calling around to a couple of different friends. I actually called Rob Lamb, and I was like, hey, aren't you a mortgage broker? Because I thought, oh, maybe I'll get into doing mortgage broker shit. He was like, no, you don't want to do mortgage broker. That shit sucks. How many people you know that are buying houses right now? I was like, that's a good point. And he said, yeah, you know, do insurance. You know, you can eventually get like some, what do you call that? Reoccurring income.
Yeah, reoccurring,
Yeah.
Shout out to Rob Lamb.
Yeah, shout out to Rob Lamb for sure. He's a good dude. Yeah, he basically said, you know, you're going to want to get this course and do this, and eventually, you know, you'll be able to go out on your own, just work for an agency or something for a while until you can go out on your own. And that's what we did. Started at Farmers. Farmers basically paid for me to get my license, you know. I worked at Farmers for a while. Realized, hey, I'm leaving a lot of money on the table at Farmers, so I was able to go to Liberty Mutual, and Liberty Mutual gave me this whole broker thing, and they taught me kind of a lot of really good skills that I needed to know so that I could eventually go out on my own. And now here we are, with cost aware insurance.
And a lot of people think insurance is a scam. What do you say to those people? Like when somebody calls you and they're like, I don't really want to get insurance because insurance is a scam. Like, how do you deal with those type of people?
Well, I mean, there's a part of me that believes them into a sort. Like, I don't think, like, personally, and this is just a personal opinion, I don't think that we should be mandated, like, to have insurance to drive. I believe if you want to protect your stuff, you should be able to buy insurance. But ultimately, like, insurance for, like, auto and home, no, I wouldn't say it's a scam, right? Like, you need auto insurance if you get into a car accident, right? You're definitely going to say, like, oh, fuck, I'm paying all this money for auto insurance, but, the minute you get into a car crash and you have $100,000 bill hanging over your head, for the other person's car, and then you're out of car because you didn't have insurance, well, then you're going to be like, oh, shit, I wish I paid that $200 a month for insurance. Or if you're, like, you live in a house and, even if something as shitty as, like, your neighbor's house catches fire because they're irresponsible. Well, the wind's going to carry those embers onto your house, and what do you think's going to happen? Your house is going to fucking burn down too.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you're going to say, oh man, insurance isn't a scam now. I should
have had it.
I sure wish I had that insurance to cover my house because now I'm homeless, Now, if you want to get into, like, the life insurance stuff, again, I'm licensed in life insurance, so, like, I probably shouldn't be saying this because I'm doing it to my own detriment, but I don't really buy into the whole life insurance thing. I don't think it's a good investment to do, like, the infinite banking unless you are maxing out your 401k already, maxing out a Roth already, and you're, like, looking for a good place to stash, your extra dollars, right? The infinite banking stuff, the whole idea is that, like, you use it as, like, an investment vehicle, but, I mean, compared to some of the other investment vehicles that are out there, there's just way better ways to make a good return on your money. So I would definitely say buy term. If you buy term life insurance, that's good, especially if you're in a situation where, like, it's a husband and wife that own a house, and, God forbid one of you dies or something happens to you and you can't work for the rest of your life. You have that term insurance, the term life insurance, to at least help you pay off your house. And then that way your family's not fucked without you, right?
Right.
I just don't know if we do the whole life insurance where, you're using it as a way to do infinite banking. I don't buy into that.
Definitely. And, like, in insurance, so there's, like, two ways of looking at insurance, I think. Like, it's like car sales. Like, car sales is like, oh, it's just boring. You're selling a car. Or it's insurance. It's just like, okay, you don't really, like, use this too often. If, God forbid, you need it, you use it. And so you have those people where it's like, oh, I'm sitting there cold calling and I'm getting this book of business and this and that. So, like, how do you separate yourself from, like, the sense of it's boring? Because it is. It has to be boring at certain points.
I mean, let's be so for real. Yeah, I mean, we're not, I have my exciting job, which is DJing, and I have my not exciting job, which is insurance, right? Like, there's not too much exciting stuff going on in the world of insurance, you know what I mean?
Right.
Rates are going up and everyone's pissed off about it, you know what I mean? I think and I'm not sure if I'm answering the question you're asking, but I think how I differentiate myself from, the other options out there is, one, yeah, I'm a broker and I have, plethora of options. I can more or less do all of the shopping for a person because, I have Geico, I have Progressive, I have Allstate, I got, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I got them all, basically. Yeah, minus a few here and there. And so that's, a big selling
point.
for myself. And the other is that, you know, you're calling my cell phone, you know what I mean? Like, you're not calling some dude in India who doesn't know you, who doesn't know your situation. I try and take the time to, like, you know, get to know my customers and make sure they know I'm not just a robot on the other end that's here to sell them insurance. I'm a guy with a life, and I understand you're a person with a life that, you know, exists, and, you know, you are buying insurance to make sure on the worst day of your life you've got that covered, right? And the worst day of your life isn't gonna hit you as hard, right?
Right.
So, like, I try and make sure I explain to people, like, hey, you know, this coverage might not be something that's super important. I see it on everyone's policy. It's like one of those bells and whistles features, you know what I mean, that you probably don't really need, you know what I mean? So let's maybe nix that and add this instead, because this coverage is actually super important, and I see it get used all the time, and it's something that you'll want to have on there, and it's the same cost as this coverage that we're kind of nixing over here. So, like, I try and take my time with people and explain it all and let them know what they're getting. And, you know, I think there's kind of a lot of bullshit out there as far as insurance sales goes too, because, like, you know, the way we get paid is based off of premium and the percentage of premium, right? And some carriers pay a higher percentage than other carriers. I don't like playing that game where I'm like, ooh, oh, Progressive is a little bit cheaper, but, you know, maybe this carrier gives me a little bit extra commission. I'm not going to play that game. You know, I'm going to give my customer the best deal. You know? Right. So, I don't know. I think that's how I kind of differentiate myself.
I think Rob says good or bad cheap insurance isn't good insurance, but good insurance isn't good insurance isn't something. Man, I always screw it up.
Yeah, it's cheap insurance isn't good insurance, and good insurance isn't cheap insurance.
Yeah, there you go.
That, which, you know,
Flip that.
I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily even buy into that. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, if you have that coverage on your policy, it's a contractual, you know, debate we're having here. You know what I mean? It's like, right, you're going to win that in court. You know, you got it in a contract. You got it in a policy. You know what I mean? So if you know, Joe Blow company is, you know, offering you a way better deal than fucking, you know, I'll name a expensive insurance carrier. I don't really care which one you use. I would still recommend my customers go for Joe Blow, you know, insurance agency, because Joe Blow insurance company is significantly cheaper. It's the same coverage, and I'm not going to work with any companies or carriers that, like, are going to not pay their claims, right? I don't think any insurance agent, independent insurance agent, works with, you know, companies that just straight up aren't going to pay claims, right? And, like, I'll go to bat for my customers too. Like, if, you know, a customer's having a hard time getting a claim covered, I'll make a call. You know, I'll say, like, hey, why are you treating my customer like this? We wrote this policy this way. I got the notes, you know?
Right.
So, you know, I don't really buy into that whole, like, you know, we got to make sure we put you with this company over this company because this company does is not as cheaper, you know? Like, that's just like a game to play. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give them the best deal.
Yeah, it seems like a game to play. So you currently have, I would say it's two companies, right? You have your Cost Aware Insurance, and then you have DJ Cos.
Cosmic Entertainment.
Cosmic Entertainment. I like that.
Yeah.
Is that official? LLC or sole proprietor or any of that yet?
Sure.
Yeah.
If the IRS comes asking, sure.
Sure. All right.
Cut that.
Cut that.
No, please, but for real, cut that.
But so you're a busy man. Then you got kids. So your kids, what have you learned raising kids? 3 of them, by the way, 3 of them.
Yeah, that's a brutal question. I don't know, man. I mean, there's kind of a lot. I mean, ultimately, you know, I'm an imperfect human trying to create, you know, other humans which I know are also going to be imperfect out in the world, but I just want them to be just a little bit better than me if I can, you know? I want them to not, you know, make some of the mistakes that I've made. And I guess how I've really tried to drive home to them that, like, hey, I'm just a person too, you know, like I'm a guy, like y'all didn't come with a book, you know,
right.
Like when you came out of there, you know, it was you and then the placenta and then a handbook on how to raise this fucker. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just that didn't happen. It was just you and the placenta.
Yeah, just
you know?
figure it out.
Yeah. And so it's like we have to kind of figure this out as we go here. And like, you know, I'm still learning how to be a person, really. You know what I mean? Like
I think we all are.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the biggest realizations that I have, you know, as a parent, is I'm like, oh, fuck, I am fucked up. I am just not anywhere near perfect, and I don't know if I'm equipped to do any of this, you know, but like, I don't know, I want to drive home to them that, like, hey, I'm not doing any of this to be an asshole to you. Like, I'm never gonna, like, just punish you just to be a dick. I'm never gonna, like, yell at you just to be a dick, right? Like, I'm doing this because I'm trying to hone in on something. I'm trying to make you think about something. Like, I'm asking you questions to get your gears turning to see if maybe, like, you can follow the bouncing ball and figure out why you were wrong and what you did here, or how you can do things better. You know what I mean? And, like,
well, this is very important, and like, I really want to express this because they could be watching this back, you know, when they turn 18, and they're like, what is it? Like, wow, my dad wanted me to learn XYZ when I got older. So, like, if there's a couple words of wisdom for Ansem, Sora, and, man, I always forget the last guy, Renly. It takes me a minute. Like, what do you really wish that you could instill into those guys? Look at the camera, too, because this is important.
I want you guys to know that you are more than just a worker. You're more than just adding shareholder value to someone else in the world. I want you guys to find your own way and become your own person. I really want you to know that the way you behave and act can affect people in a certain way, whether that's, you know, positive or negative. You have to learn how to treat people in the ways that they want to be treated, the whole golden rule thing, because then they'll do their best to treat you how you want to be treated. I really want them to just know that, you know, we're all just little kids, I think, at heart. I think all of us just have, like, this, you know, little baby inside of us that probably didn't get the care, love, and attention that we all needed, because our parents are all imperfect human beings. And so, like, when you treat people like that, and you just understand that, like, they all just want the care, love, and attention that we all so desperately need and want in our lives, when you just understand that, like, that's all people really want, you know, it helps you to, you know, maybe treat people a little better.
I mean, and that reflects onto me as, like, an uncle, right? Because I don't think I've been the best uncle. I try to, you know, here and there I'll play a video game with them, but I don't get to see them a whole lot. You guys,
we live kind of far.
Yeah, you guys live far. I would like to be a better uncle, and I'd like to, you know, I'd still like to hang out with you guys. But I just thought that was kind of an important section. So now we can kind of transition into the meat and the potatoes of this entire thing.
Oh, we have to spend the last 10 minutes on communism?
On communism, yeah. So we can do the title, Cause Expresses Why Communism is Superior. That's the clickbait title right there.
Oh, okay, yeah. I do believe that communism would be better, because ultimately communism, I think a lot of people think of communism as like, isn't that where you don't get to have your own toothbrush, brother? Yeah, but, like, again, you have to separate, like, personal property and private property. That's a whole other topic. I don't know really how, like, yet to make this, like, palatable for, like, the normal person. Like, I'm still kind of early in my journey of how to, like, make this, like, you know, very normal for people. But I think what's important for us all is to, like, join a union, you know, understand that, like, you know, your neighbors aren't the problem. It's your boss that's fucking you over and paying you less money than you deserve. That's the problem here, and why we're all struggling today. Communism is just the ultimate form of socialism, right? And where socialism is a spectrum that we all kind of exist on, you know, from something as simple as like fire departments, because like we talked about in the insurance section earlier, you know, you have your neighbor's house that's burning down. Well, it's pretty likely that because your neighbor's house is burning down, it's going to spread embers to your house and then the other person's house. And so instead of making it so that, like, oh, well, because the neighbor doesn't pay for the fucking fire department subscription, you know, my house isn't going to burn down, right? Like, we've all decided as a society that it's better for us to have fire departments.
Right.
That's socialism, baby. If you believe in fire departments, you support your fire departments, you're a socialist, you know?
Socialist?
Yeah.
So what is the definition of socialism?
I'd fuck up the you know, Google's definition. I mean, you can get on Google and ask for the specifics.
So then
but
what's
how
the
I see it-
definition of communism? Do you know either which one?
Well, communism implies a moneyless and stateless society. A moneyless, classless, stateless society. So, like, we don't exchange money for goods in that whole thing. There's no class of people. Like, we're all seen as equals, right? And stateless as in, like, you know, you're of one world, and as a, you know, population, as inhabitants of the world, we're all world citizens, and we don't need to belong to like these like dogmatic like USA or Brazil or China. Like, we don't need to be separated by these like, you know, very artificial like things. Now, communism isn't going to happen here tomorrow. I want to make sure I put that out. Like, I don't believe communism is even achievable under our current, you know, understanding of the world and how the world operates. I think that that's something that we all should strive towards eventually, because it's ultimately what's going to keep us alive.
Keep us alive, communism?
Yeah.
Okay.
Capitalism, all right, capitalism requires that we continue to exploit both people and resources, right? You know, we're going to have to continue under capitalism exploiting the global south for cheap labor, right? Because companies under capitalism have to constantly grow, right? And yeah, I mean, under communism, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. It's like, basically, you know, we're looking at the things being produced that we need and making sure that we do that in an efficient way to make sure everyone has their needs met, right?
Right. Well, I realize we're coming up on the hour mark. Do you want to keep going? I can reset the camera.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
You sure?
I'm
I
first.
want to I want to dive deep into that. So you got to come on for a second part. Or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
eventually.
That's your local DJ, insurance.
Anything
agent,
that
communist.
you want all the people to know before we end this?
Well, if you're having a wedding, if you're having a birthday party, a graduation party, a swingers party, I don't know what you're into, just let me know. I'll come DJ. I'll play the music for you. It'll be kind of cool. 801-833-7287 for that. Or, if you don't need DJ services, and maybe you're looking at your insurance bill every month thinking, holy smokes, this is really expensive. God, I wish I didn't have to spend 3 hours shopping Progressive, and then Geico, and then Allstate, and then just putting all of my information in over and over and over again.
Arizona
all
only.
these quotes. No, Arizona and Utah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you don't want to do all that, give me a call. I'll do it for you. Again, 801-833-7287. And then you can have your own personal insurance agent, cost aware. And then last but not least, read some Marx. I think that most people would probably actually agree with the things, Marx says and espouses, right? Power to the people. You workers of the world, unite. You've got nothing to lose but your chains. Ended on that.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Chris.
Thanks, brother.
Cool. That was great.